Many who watched Attorney General William Barr's testimony on Wednesday before the Senate Judiciary Committee, which followed the revelation that the special counsel, Robert Mueller, had expressed misgivings about Mr. Barr's characterization of his report, are despairing about the rule of law. I am not among them. I think the system is working and inching, however slowly, toward justice. Those are not my words. They are far too elegant, obviously. Everything I just said appears in Neil Katyal's piece tonight in the New York Times entitled "Why Barr Can't Whitewash the Mueller Report." And joining us now is Neil Katyal, former acting U.S. Solicitor General and an MSNBC legal contributor. I want to kind of focus your response to certain things. I have an idea of what you've been saying about this, and I want to show you something that the president said. William Barr said today about the president's ability to fire the special counsel, not just for conflict of interest. This is now the false accusations theory. And then I want you to get your response to all of these theories of legitimate firing that were offered today. Let's watch this.
If the president is being falsely accused, which the evidence now suggests that the accusations against him were false, and he knew they were false, and he felt that this investigation was unfair, propelled by his political opponents, and was hampering his ability to govern, that is not a corrupt motive for replacing an independent counsel.
Okay, I guess I will frame this as, which one of these answers bothers you the most? The one where the president can fire the special counsel because he thinks he's falsely accused, or the idea that Donald Trump had an absolutely legitimate reason for firing Robert Mueller based on Robert Mueller's conflicts of interest?
Yeah, well, it's all of the above. And maybe to just back up, I mean, the reason I wrote the New York Times piece is because I know there's the people all across the country are watching this and they're dispirited and they're scared. And, you know, I'm watching my beloved Justice Department go through this with this leader at the helm, which is just a horrible thing for the department to go through. But I do think in the end, America's a lot stronger than Trump. It's a lot stronger than Barr. These are people who are determined to destroy parts of the rule of law. And I think the system is going to hold. And that brings me to your question. The very fact that we're watching Barr testify and say such preposterous things is actually the system working in a way. It's him having to articulate his reasons, and his reasons, like what we just heard in that clip, make no sense. The Mueller report did not say that this was all false, all the accusations of collusion and stuff. It said applying the beyond a reasonable doubt, a very high standard, they wouldn't make out a criminal case. That doesn't necessarily, you know, that's the whole reason you have an investigation. If you had a standard that said, you know, you have to prove everything up before you actually investigate, then we wouldn't ever have any investigations. And then the idea, Barr's legal theory, well, the president can just fire end an investigation if he thinks it's bogus. Well, that's generally true, but it depends on your motivation. So, you know, if I have the right to, you know, to have a laptop with all my evidence on it and all my writings, but if I know the cops are coming for it, I can't throw it away. That's called obstruction of justice. Similarly here, Trump fired the guy investigating him, and Mueller's report lays out in devastating detail example after example of where this looks like a corrupt motive.
And the Attorney General was trying to use the rules you wrote today that include conflict of interest as a potential reason for firing special counsel. What was your reaction to that?
Oh, that was just so deeply misleading. It made no sense whatsoever. So first of all, Barr said, well, if Sessions had a conflict of interest, that's somehow different from firing him for some other reason. But, you know, that you could kind of unrecuse people and the like. None of this make any sense. The special counsel regulations are really simple. They just simply say, look, if the public doesn't have confidence in the person doing the investigation because, for example, they happen to be appointed by the president, you can go outside the department. And that's why they did. And that pointedly is what we learned Mueller's complaint about Barr was yesterday, because that letter says, and it quotes actually part of the special counsel regulations, and it says the whole point of this is public confidence and independent investigation. Here you are eliminating all of that, putting your own spin on the report, and trying to exonerate a president, ahead of time. That is not the way the system is supposed to work.
In the big picture focus you take in your op-ed piece, you say we are in the fifth inning, inning 5. What's next? What's in the other innings?
It's all the ball game's really largely Congress at this point. There's some other stuff going on, state investigations, and also the possibility that Trump could be prosecuted after he leaves office. All that is on the table. But I think for the next immediate future, we're going to see pressure for Mueller to testify. He essentially has to. And the special counsel regulations were written in a way that will permit him to do so. Even if Barr wants to try and stop him, he can't stop him. Mueller will testify. The truth is going to come out. And then the question is, what's Congress going to do about it? Are they going to just exercise oversight responsibilities, or are they going to bring impeachment? And who are they going to bring impeachment proceedings against? I mean, I think anyone watching Barr's testimony today realized, impeachment isn't just an I word against the president. It might be against his chief law enforcement officer.
Let's get on to specifics on the Mueller testimony. As long as he's an employee of the Justice Department, does William Barr control whether or not Mueller can testify?
Yes.
So do we wait for Mueller to leave the Justice Department? Then he becomes a complete free agent on testifying?
He largely becomes a free agent. That's why when we wrote the regulations, we sought a special counsel. They'll be outside the Justice Department and of sufficient stature. So they would be able to leave and not have to worry that they wouldn't get a job or something like that. And then they would be free to testify. Now, there will be, and with this White House, which blocks the truth at every turn, no doubt they'll assert executive privilege, attorney-client privilege, and this and that. They'll try all those things, but in the end, the truth is going to come out. Congress has robust powers in this area, and if they try and mess with it, even just like Barr today, refusing to testify, is scared to go before the House and be questioned by someone for more than 5 minutes at a time, Nadler will subpoena that tomorrow, and then can issue a contempt citation. And if that goes to court, Barr is going to lose these cases. They are taking preposterous positions in court.
We have all been wondering where we are in this story, and now we know the fifth inning. Neil Katyal, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate you being here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.